This episode of Indie Game Riot is brought to you by our amazing Patreon supporters like Suzanne J, Pedro C, Richard K, and a special thanks to Keen Hot and Juicy Maverick. If you'd like to support the show, visit patreon.com/IndieGameRiot. And remember, you can't start a riot without a fresh indie news injection. This week we try to outlast satanic cults for the king. Man, I hope this trying to kill us thing is just a phase. We'll talk about this and more on episode 123 of Indie Game Riot. Indie Game Riot! Hey everybody, this is Josh, and I am joined by co-host Tekado.
Hello!
And not Rev, because who knows, he works all the time.
Yep. Don't worry, my squeaky chair will fill in for him. Isn't that right, Rev? And as soon as I want to squeak it, it doesn't squeak.
Yeah.
Perfect.
As always...
Maybe we won't be cursed for this episode.
As always, when we are missing a person, we put a 100% accurate picture of them in place. So that's
Rev at one of his sword fighting events.
Yep.
He's the masked pigu.
That is 100% Rev.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Totally.
Believe us.
Yep.
So, of course, many of you may have noticed that we were missing the past couple weeks. That is because of... well, how about I go first so I can explain?
Cool, dude.
Because there was unfortunately a death on my wife's side of the family. We had to go to the funeral. The funeral happens to be in Hawaii, which is where her family is. So you don't go to Hawaii for like a day
No.
because that's expensive and a long-ass trip. Plus, we kind of wanted to... like, my son has never actually physically met any of her family.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter hasn't been with, like, physically with her family.
She was so young.
A baby.
Yeah.
Some of them people she hasn't met either. So, we actually ended up staying for a week. We were gone for a little longer than that, but there was traveling takes like 17 hours or something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, there was we actually, on the way back, it actually technically was 2 days because we caught the red eye. So we left midday on the 19th. And because of time zones plus a long flight from LAX to Baltimore, it ended up being 5 a.m. the next day by the time we got here.
Dude, flying, I will say though that flying west to east is way better than flying east to west.
It is. It's both ways. Not only because it's impossible for me to sleep on a fucking plane.
Yeah, of course.
I cannot.
Of course, it has to be.
And I tried. I mean, outside of the fact that I was uncomfortable, but then I had this kids next to me just constantly, all over me or just freaking out or whatever they're doing. So,
and that's why they need to make some drugs legal to give to your kids sometimes, and only for flights. They need to do to kids what they do to the pets.
The drug is called
drug them
Netflix.
and put them underneath.
Yeah, really. The drug is called Netflix. Honestly, the kids weren't that bad, especially considering how long the flights were.
And I feel like people know, right? It's kids. Yeah.
On the way there, we were up for, at least I was up for over 24 hours by the time we actually got to where we needed to go, and that's including driving across the Big Island because it was cheaper to fly into one side than the other.
But that's not too bad.
No, it was literally over 24 hours.
Yeah. Well, the driving part after the 17-hour flight,
Well, it was bad. Yeah, after 24 hours of being awake, driving, it's about an hour to an hour and a half to go across. But it's kind of long, but it's not too bad. But the problem is that the road that you take is, they changed it recently, but it used to be at least one of the most dangerous roads in the country. It's called Saddle Road, and so it's outside of being just incredibly tired, but you're also paranoid because you want to not fuck up because it's super windy and dark, and it gets foggy really easily. But we made it, obviously, and on the way back, it was a 3-hour drive from Baltimore to where, to here. So.
Yep. Oh, dude, the driving from Baltimore to around Philadelphia is like the worst drive ever. I take that back. No, yes, from Baltimore, yeah.
Fucking Christ, people that drive around Baltimore are fucking stupid, man.
They're probably on drugs.
They're idiots. No, they're.
Oh yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible.
Maybe some of them.
Awful.
But like I look at, because when people piss me off when I'm driving, I don't know. I gain some sort of satisfaction from like seeing their stupid fucking face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any sense.
I know what you mean.
I like to look right at them like that's the face of an idiot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So some of them, I highly doubt they were on drugs, because they were like, I mean, I guess it could have been
old and foreign. Is that?
They could have been old and foreign, or they could have been like, there were some like just jackass like people in suits that were trying to get.
Oh
to
yeah,
jobs,
yeah.
You know what I mean? They think they're better than everyone.
The amount of entitled people.
Yeah.
Oh, in the world.
That was part of it. There might have been a couple, but Jesus, man, I haven't experienced that kind of stupid shit all in one area in a long time. I don't even remember the last time I had to deal with that sort of thing. Maybe in Philly, but I wasn't driving then. So that was fun. The trip overall though was good. Got to see family and all that sort of stuff, and got food that we don't usually get around here because people don't buy it around here.
Mm-hmm.
So, how about you?
I haven't really done a whole lot. Oh, you know what I did do?
What's that?
I've been playing some AAA trash.
Oh. So have I, to be fair.
It is the new Zelda game.
Oh, you got a Switch? Or
no,
you
I
got
didn't.
It for the Wii U?
I didn't. Well, I'm playing the Wii U version on a Wii U emulator.
Oh, I didn't even know there was one yet.
Yeah, there is. It's all right. It's a nice change of pace from what I've been playing.
Indie Game
and
Riot does not
it's
condone
not
piracy of any sort.
No, of course not. But anyway, I mean, like I haven't done a whole lot. I've sat in the squeaky chair. I'm slowly learning Unreal 4. That's pretty much what I've done.
Cool.
Yeah. Is
that C++ based or is that different?
Yep. It's C++, just straight up.
Good.
Yeah.
I need someone to learn C++ because I don't have time.
Yeah, that's...
Well, congratulations on kind of being productive, actually.
Yeah, attempting to be productive.
Teaching yourself something. I mean,
yeah.
Anyway. How about you, Rev?
Fair.
I've been I've been acting like a pig out in the forest. Oh,
working
Rev.
butt off.
Oh, Rev. You and your antics.
You and your funny, ridiculous shit. Oh, looks like a bad segue's coming up to Indie News Injection.
Are you bored with the same old games?
Yeah.
Why, then give yourself an Indie News Injection.
Thanks, Indie Games.
This week on Indie News Injection, it's almost that time of year again.
Woo!
Where we bombard you with Indie Revolution, Expo, news, and encouragement to sign up. Sign-ups on IndieGameRiot.com/Indie Revolution Expo, or you can just go to IndieGameRiot.com, and it is in the that top navigational bar. Josh, have you updated the IRX page yet? Because I don't know the exact dates, and I don't want to tell these people lies.
I have.
Okay. So it is July 14th through the July 16th from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. each day on Twitch.
Yes.
Right where we're streaming right now.
I do need to update. We got some. I need to update the page with like new registrations. By the way, if you have an indie game, register your indie game for IRX 17. It is free exposure for you. It's a good time. Get to meet other devs and other indie professionals of sorts, and or you can also sign up for a panel if you want to.
Do you have something to say?
Yeah. So do that.
I will also say that and this is just sort of a note to Josh. We need to go back into the website and relink all of the media because it's sending to our old Hitbox page. Just a note.
I thought I changed all, but anyway, I'll check it out later.
We'll fix it later.
You know what game should be part of IRX?
Fix it later.
Sure. Bendy and the Ink Machine, because it's an awesome. The first chapter is an awesome free game. However, the second chapter is not free, but it has come out, and I think it's like $5 or $6 on Game Jolt. And I think he also has it on itch.io. So
it is $5.99 or more on Game Jolt.
There you go. I guess you can add more if you want to support the dev, which we always encourage, because Bendy is pretty awesome. It's made by the Meatly, and someone else I think also does the programming. But it's a horror game, and I played it on a Let's Play My Game Live stream once.
Yeah.
The first chapter, and it was scary, but it was like not a whole lot of intense, like oh, my life is in danger. There's like one moment where I ran away, but like nothing really happened. This one actually, there is harm able to be done to your body in the game. So it is, and it's a little bit longer, and there's puzzles. So it's worth the money, and I can't wait. I'm not a huge fan of episodic things, but at the same time, I understand.
$5, 2 episodes.
I understand.
Fun game.
Well, it's going to be more episodes, but I understand doing it because it's just the couple people. So
exactly. Speaking of a couple people, Stardew Valley.
Shit. Hold on. Hey, that's the IRX logo because I don't do my job right, and it's been a long time. This is the not shit. Hold on.
All right.
There we go.
There we go.
I'm gonna shrink
Almost.
it down.
Cool. Good idea. While you're doing that. On April 25th, Stardew Valley moved into 1.2, which means we'll be able to get multiplayer, guys, right? Multiplayer, right?
Yeah.
Right? Multiplayer? Yeah, no.
Because that's what they promised.
Except not. Except for the fact that now you can play Stardew Valley in German, Spanish, Brazilian, Portuguese, Russian. Well, Brazilian and Portuguese are basically the same. Russian, Japanese, and simplified Chinese. So if you live anywhere in the world and you speak one of the languages that I just said, have fun playing Stardew Valley, because now you can play it
even though there's a good chance you probably already know English.
Exactly. They fixed some bugs, like a bunch of crashes that nobody really was having. I never had those problems. They fixed the windowed borderless to full screen button, which was bothering me and very confusing. And they fixed. What else were... Oh, they fixed controller support so that the controller's a little bit easier to use. The only reason I can see for using a controller is if... No. Just use the mouse and keyboard.
A controller just sounds terrible.
It makes it harder.
Yeah.
It allows you to like... So, I will say that using a keyboard and a mouse to play Stardew Valley, it is much easier to play one-handed with the controller. So you don't have to be as involved, but you still need to use the mouse, really.
Yeah, that sounds very tanked. Like
yes.
The idea of it.
But they're doing it because people want it. So better to have it. I actually remember there was an update that he made on the Kickstarter years ago where someone was like, controller support, and he goes, I don't know about controller support
because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he's made it work, and it works. It works pretty all right. The best part about this update is that they are still working on multiplayer.
Yeah,
which is so.
Hey, here's an update about something we don't have in the game.
Thanks, yeah,
thanks,
exactly. But it was something, and the game's so good. You know, the game is so good.
I guess I can forgive it. But you know what I can't forgive?
What can't you forgive?
Why we can't play games for more than a year anymore, according to Techido.
No, we are not allowed to play games anymore for more than a year.
Explain yourself, because that doesn't make any sense.
So today, for those of you who don't know, this is being recorded on the 6th of April. The new Call of Duty came out, or the new trailer came out for the new Call of Duty game, and it got me thinking. The old Call of Duty game, like Call of Duty 2, the last good World War II Call of Duty game, was like a whole game, and I remember I played that game for a long time, a surprisingly long time, and ever since then, that was sort of like the turning point. Bigger publishers, AAA publishers, have gone the route of they're releasing, nice. They're releasing a title every year, and that's the game that you're gonna play. And there are people who go,
well, you know who,
like, it's surprise. People go to GameStop and they buy 2 games a year, and it's Madden and Call of Duty.
I was gonna say, like Madden is notorious, like sports games, but especially Madden, they're notorious. And people complain, even the people that buy it, complain that it's basically a glorified roster update.
It is
for $60
that they could push via the internet.
Yeah. So
yeah, but
it's. I mean,
the point that I'm trying to make is that when was the last time you were able to sit down to a game and enjoy that game for an extended period of time? Like we found plenty of those on the show, right? Mm-hmm. But I think like I realized today, and that's like the thing that I want to pick the brains at, pick your brain, pick the audience's brain, is that most of the games now that are coming out, they're designed to only be interesting for like a few months, maybe.
So what year would you say this trend started?
It was, I don't know, it was probably like once DLC became. When did Halo 3 come out?
Oh shit.
2007. Halo 3 came out in 2007. Yeah. So around like 2007.
Okay.
Because then.
So just a counter example.
Totally.
Left 4 Dead. Like Valve is a company, I think, that doesn't do this. Although
that's true.
Albeit they are concentrated on Steam. But Left 4 Dead, even though people complain that it came out too early, I wouldn't say that it lacked anything. I mean, it was still pretty much the same formula plus melee weapons and some like new like end game mechanics with like the gas runs and stuff like that. But it was still a good game. Like it wasn't lacking anything.
Well, but it's because those games. Well, one,
it's the kind of game it is because it's high replay rate, right?
Exactly.
So it really, I think, is it really them trying to do that? Which I kind of agree that it is.
I think it boils down to are we living in a throwaway game society? Like, are we living in a world where games?
Well, the problem, I don't know.
I'm not used for a short amount of time and then thrown away like a short piece of entertainment. Like, is that where this is going?
I'm not sure if it's necessarily the fact that they're designed that way, which it wouldn't surprise me if it was, because it's corporate greed and all that.
Planned obsolescence, corporate bullshit. Yeah.
But at the same time, it could just be the way the world is at this point with online multiplayer, especially in those kinds of games. Because and people do play those games for a long time on as far as multiplayer goes. But at some point it does get stale, and they want to update it in order to make money. Like same thing with Battlefield or whatever. And although Blizzard with Overwatch, they have a different style where they just continuously update it and they keep it fresh that way.
Right.
So I don't know. As far as like,
this would have been a better discussion if Rev were here, but it leaves a good opportunity because we have said a bunch of things, and we're moving a little quick, but I think we've kind of come to the end of this thought. But there's a lot.
Before we move on, I wanted to ask. Let's bring it back to indie games.
Right.
So just to wrap it up, I want to bring it back to indie games.
Do that. I was planning on doing that too. I have that.
So, what do indie games do this? And
I think that indie games do this for a completely different reason. I think that indie games do this because people are eager to get games out, and making a game is really hard. And so the game that might be released isn't exactly what a developer might necessarily believe it to be in its final form. Publishers do that too. Publishers
they push that.
Exactly. Actually, you know what? That's a really good point. Is that I think maybe it's just a symptom of being rushed in a market that is moving very fast. Or in terms of Activision's case, very, very, very slow.
Well, I mean, the thing, though, is that indie games never have really moved fast. I don't think. I mean, the industry in itself, yes. But as far as making the games go...
The industry itself, yeah.
As far as making the games go, it's always been pretty slow. It's a slow march because it's small teams and stuff like that, small budgets.
But that's kind of nice.
But the publishers
if you had more money, to make the same game, the game would be more money.
Well, the publishers, what they worry about is that the longer it's out, the more money they sink into it, which is what happened to, I think, Poncho, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And they were just like, hey, we're not doing this anymore. So, which sucks, I think.
It does.
But I don't know. I think overall, though, the indies, it's just another point where indies diverge from AAAs in the sense that it just ends up being better for the community as a whole.
I also think it depends on what kind of experience you're trying to go for. I'm sorry about my chair. It's awful. So like the indie games getting as popular as they have sort of opened the door in a more positive light to these shorter 35-minute to 3-hour experiences, so to speak. Like it's a form of media that you consume. Kind of like a perfect example would be Firewatch.
Right.
Which is a game that I think is lacking, but
I think
it's an experience.
I think a good example of like something that was short and I guess you could say experimental in a way.
Yeah.
If you remember, and it's like towards the beginning. It's not really that old. It's not as old as like Castle Crashers or something like that, or
right,
or the Braid. But do you remember Little Inferno?
Little Inferno, Little Inferno, just for me. Yeah, Little Inferno was great.
It was a really fun game, but it was totally different.
It was.
How's a hairball?
Yeah, really.
But I don't know. That was I don't know. That was a good example of.
But that game's like 10 hours. Like 5.
Well, it depends on how much you fuck around.
That's true.
Because that's what the game is. And the one thing too, I wanted to mention about pushing out a game like every year or something like that. It sucks.
It doesn't take a year. It takes multiple years.
Well, it sucks because it's you're basically pushing devs to the brink.
Oh yeah,
trying to crank that stuff out.
They're not devs. They're just contractors.
Yeah, really. You're pushing them to the brink, trying to crank that stuff out, and they can only do so much within a year, and everything just suffers for it. And a lot of times too, and then it's like with first day patches. I talked about Rev with this. I don't know if you were on that episode or not about patches and stuff like that. How it like, I'm not a huge fan of patching, and I like the idea that if there is something wrong, you can fix it. Because back in the day, if there was something wrong, well, you're fucked. Basically, that game doesn't work. But because it seems like there's a lower quality of development in order to get it pushed out so fast nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
But you can fix it. But like with especially
I think that we need
with like Mass Effect Andromeda, for instance.
Oh.
They pushed that out. They weren't ready. They were talking about it, and they even pushed the release date and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like the game, but they obviously had things to fix.
Keep talking. I'll be right back.
All right. Well, that's it anyway. So, while he just randomly leaves because he has he has food. Okay. We're professionals, ladies and gentlemen.
I had a delivery.
There you go. Well, that was the end of my thought anyway. So
I gotta eat before we go on to the next thing. If we've said a lot of things, what are your opinions on this? Leave a comment down below.
Words.
You know what else has words? The next segment, which is starting the riot.
Woo! This week on Starting the Riot, we are going to be talking about a very, very popular game, which we usually don't talk about, like, super popular games. Oh, yeah. I mean, we talk about them, and then they get popular because we're so...
Exactly.
Yeah. But anyway, this has been long awaited and postponed. It is Outlast 2 by Red Barrels, and if you haven't played the first one, I highly suggest it. It is a little. It's one of those. The first one's one of those games too that gets kind of like it's terrifying for like the first half of it, and then you get used to it, and you're like, come on, like. Then you get through it. This one, a shit ton more terrifying and a lot more fucked up than the first one.
Dude, that's the one thing that I've noticed about the direction that a lot of these sort of indie horror games are going is that it's no longer about, it's jump scares, cute jump scares. It's like there's some shit that like makes me uncomfortable.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like in horrible, like it's some horrible stuff.
It's interesting because I read something that in the first one they had initially planned like a Deliverance style rape scene at some point in the game, and then they're like, oh, that's too fucked up for people to play through. They're not going to want to see that, so they took it out. Yeah. And then in this one, the whole thing is essentially about some guy raping people. I think. I'm not 100% sure. And I mean, it's actually the major theme is religion, but part of like the big thing about it is some guy like impregnating women. And what I think the story is that they're trying to impregnate women. The guy's trying to impregnate women in order to bring forth the Antichrist,
right?
And then, but instead of letting it become born, he kills the kid. So every time someone's pregnant, they kill the kid. So not only is there like that sort of stuff in there, but then there's dead babies all over the goddamn place, and just a lot more really gruesome shit. And if you ever played the demo for Outlast 2, of course you know how one's balls tend to be severed from one's body, and there's a lot of that in this as well. So I even think the enemies are just creepier in general.
Yeah.
In this
one.
They
had to step it up. I mean, the first one got so famous because it was actually terrifying.
Right.
You know, it's like they can't release the same terrifying. It doesn't work that way. It's like, it's just Outlast 1.
If this is the first time you've ever played a game, Outlast, by the way, is like a survival horror, but you don't defend yourself. It's basically run and hide or you die. It's actually it's a stealth mechanic basically. So it's not like shooting your way through like in Dead Space.
Yeah.
And you use a camera to record things and use like night vision in the dark, and it's just really scary. And in this one, it's interesting. You mentioned like in between segments, you mentioned you were talking about level design and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because in the first one, it took place in an asylum, and it was very much hallways, and it led you that way. But a lot of this is outside in like a desert type of area because it takes place in Arizona, on a supposed reservation, and the one complaint people have is that you get lost really easy in it, but it's interesting.
But that's kind of the point, right? Like,
well, it's supposed to be like that because you're like running from people, and then you're like in a blind panic trying to figure out where you're supposed to go. And I could see it getting frustrating, but at the same time, it's also terrifying because you're just like fuck, the whole time.
Yep.
But they do generally do a good job of lighting your path very subtly too. There's a few times where like you might have to crawl through a hole or squeeze through like a tight space and you don't see it because you're in a panic. So you're like, where the fuck do I go? And it might take you some time.
But I mean, like, that's sort of like, to be perfectly honest, that's sort of an issue that we've had with games for a while. Really, like, there's one little bit that's, you know, not that I can't get through, or is really dumb, but like that's sort of, you know, what we've done. We've been through that. It's fine. Like it's just part of games, but it feels good when you figure it out, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's not like a puzzle, but I mean, you'll always find your way eventually, even after you get your nuts stabbed several times.
So Outlast 2 is for the PC. You can pick it up right now for $29.99, and that's for. So you can get that here. Let me just. I'm on their website, so you can use the Humble widget on their website, and get it through that way, and get a DRM free download as well as a Steam release.
There's another mechanic to this, by the way. Before I forget to mention it, that's different from the first one, and is actually you can use your camera as basically an echolocator. You can turn like the microphone on it. I guess it's like a shotgun mic or something supposedly attached to it, and point it in the direction of people, try and figure out where they're at, so you can like figure out when to come out of hiding spaces or go through like a cornfield or something like that, and not run into people. So it has an interesting new mechanic that way. Instead of just hiding, it's kind of like forcing you to go even though they're still pursuing you. And by the way, in this, there's a lot less breaks in this game from what I can tell. So it's almost like constant, you know, you're almost constantly puckering your anus. So during this game, it's almost like, I would say like 95% of this game is just terrifying.
I did notice that some individuals on Steam aren't thrilled with it, and a lot of the more helpful reviews are negative, it seems, but it still has an overall very positive score, because it has 1,500 positive reviews and then 140 negative.
I don't know what people are bitching about other than the fact of getting lost. I don't know what they would be bitching about.
They're saying that it's too similar to the first one, or to pick it up on sale. I don't know.
It's a franchise.
It's a horror game. Exactly.
I bet those same people play Call of Duty.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. They're whatever. Anyway. Outlast 2, really good. I would have much preferred to have had this come out during Halloween when it was supposed to. But hey, whatever. At least we got it. And from what I've seen so far, it's very, very good. And if you are on a bad poop day where you're having some unstable bowel movements, I would highly suggest maybe going and checking out. I don't know if they ever made those diapers, if you remember that.
Oh yeah. The Outlast 2 diapers.
Yeah. You might need some of those. So just saying. Anyway, you know what you don't need diapers for, unless you're going to be playing for a long time?
The Peep Show.
Please give all your attention to Early Access.
This week on Peep Show, For the King is the game that is currently working on coming out, but you can play an early access build of it on Steam for $14.99. For the King is it's an RPG co-op or single player style game with some, it's kind of 4X where you and your party move around the map, and then when there are battles or other things going on, it goes into a turn-based sort of 4X style ish.
It's kind of like board game
battle.
A little bit.
It's kind of board game-ish. It's
do you remember
old
that game
school.
War Tile?
I do remember that game War Tile.
It reminds me a tiny bit of War Tile.
A little bit like War Tile. A little. You're sort of less involved. It's more of really an RPG where you're sort of out of the scenario and you're like controlling the player that you're playing the role as. But it's still like it's open enough and it's big enough, and the fact that you can it's basically play Final Fantasy with your friends.
Yeah.
And have it be like new and fresh and sort of low poly and just very, very crisp.
Yeah.
I believe they because this is early access, you also have to be wary of updates. The last update was, I think it looks like they're doing an update every month or so, with 2 updates coming out in January, and then their most recent update coming out earlier this month in April, where are they in beta? Wait a second. Is this? It is early. It is early access. But their build is like 1.0 something. Anyway, it's very interesting. Definitely check it out. It's by Iron Oak Games.
That is weird. It's 1.0.23.
Yeah, it's probably beta 1.0.23.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But any questions, Josh?
Or
anything else to add?
Well, I like it's kind of an interesting, because when you think RPG, a lot of times it's more open world, but this kind of like blends the line between open world and not
the hallway.
It's not a hallway, but it's like,
it's not a hallway.
I know what you mean. You can't just go anywhere, but at the same time, you can go anywhere. I don't know how to explain it.
Where like I do really like that you are sort of given a choice as to what to do and where to go, and I think that also plays into the whole gameplay aspect with these kinds of games, because you have the turn-based combat, and you have the sort of 4X styling and your movement and moving around the map, and it all sort of comes together with the very like cartoony and light art style that just works.
Well, okay, I mean, the maps are procedural, and then so there's like a roguelike thing to it. They add the RPG elements. What's more of it's kind of like a JRPG too, the way the combat works.
A little bit. Yep.
Because it's turn-based and all that stuff, but at the same time, you're kind of traveling across this world. So it seems like it's limited to the fact that you go by tile and then turn-based battle, but at the same time, you it feels open because you can travel across the world, completing quests and creating your own
and I
story,
like also exactly, and I also like that they sort of there's a trend now where an RPG means you're gonna play a specific role that the dev picked for you, and that's the role that you're playing. Whereas like the traditional sort of like role-playing game is like you come in and you fill a role and you create that role and you play that character.
Well, because
and
I feel
immersion. Exactly, and I feel like this is a little bit closer to filling that character, because you do have the world in front of you. And you can you can make these choices, especially because I'm looking at this honestly like as a co-op experience, because I think that's
co-op
where this is
like
really gonna
fun.
Exactly. And so if you look at it in a sense of you and your friends starting out small and going on a quest and getting as powerful as you can, yes, awesome, great job, play it.
By the way, the co-op is online and local. So,
yes,
depending on the style.
And I think they had local for a while, but online co-op has come out just this year.
Yeah, nice, buddy. It is currently
$14.99,
and for Windows and Mac, sorry, Linux, fuck you.
Actually, I take that back. Once this game's totally done, $14.99, totally reasonable.
Well, the thing a lot of people mention too is that this doesn't feel early access to them.
That's
I'm
true.
seeing like the reviews and stuff
It is very. There is already a level of polish on it.
Right. So I'm excited to see
Definitely.
the finished, because whenever there's a level of polish during early access or early development, that makes me excited to see the finished product. It's like, well, if this isn't finished, then man, the finished product is going to be awesome. So keep an eye on it. For the King
Maybe you played it at PAX.
Iron Oak Games, maybe.
Yes.
Was it
the
awarded at
King.
PAX?
It got so it was part of the
Indie
I just
Mega
had
Booth.
it was part of the Mega Booth, and it was so it was Indie Mega Booth last 2 years.
Yeah,
that's what it
is. Indie Mega Booth have good taste in games as well. So
they do. You know what else has good taste in games? You, because you like being frugal with your money, and you're gonna play this next game, which is free on Free Fun. I'm sorry I'm yelling at them. I'm sorry I'm yelling at everybody.
We make sense.
It's just
Free Fun. This week on Free Fun, we have a nice little puzzle game made in Ludum Dare 30. What the fuck was it? 39? 37? Something. I forget. I'll go look real quick. Hold on. But anyway, it was made for the Ludum Dare Jam, and it's called Phase. The Ludum Dare Jam that was made in, the theme was one room. So this game, it was 37, by the way, the Ludum Dare. The theme was one room, and the basic point of this game is that you are in this one room, and you end up having to go through various, I guess you could say, realities in this one room. So little things will change. You might have to pick up like things, and for some reason the door talks to you, by the way. I don't know why.
yeah.
But you have to pick up things in various rooms to solve the puzzles, to go to change things in other rooms and that sort of stuff. It's pretty simple concept, but at the same time pretty complex, if that makes sense, just for the fact that it's so simplistic on the outside with like a deeper puzzle underneath it. Very smart puzzle development.
Definitely.
It is made by Retrospector. That is the name on itch.io. So if he goes by another name, I'm sorry, but that's what I found. I mean, really, there's not a whole lot to say about that other than that. Do you have any questions or anything that you particularly like about what you see?
So I think that the Ludum Dare game, so that's cool. I'm playing it right now. I think the controls are a little clunky, and I think that the up and the down shift on the planes shouldn't have been Z and C. It should have been Q and E, so I wouldn't have to move my hand off of W, A, S, and D to move, which is like, that's really frustrating.
But
other than that,
it's good feedback if they ever man, my voice
like,
is breaking. If they ever
those
turn it into
two
a
things.
full game.
Those two things are the only thing. The controls are a little clunky, but
easy
they
fixes,
work.
right?
Exactly. And the fact that they just need to rebind Z and C with Q and E. Yeah. Like, do it the way Poncho did it. That was easy.
What would
Why
Poncho
not
do?
Just, they use the up and down arrow keys, which don't work and actually control you. So that's another thing. Up and down arrow keys.
Wait, you can use WASD?
Yeah, you use WAS and maybe that's why it's not. Maybe that's why I'm having a hard time, because it wants you to use the arrow keys and
They have old school controls.
Yeah,
that's what it is. I think it's interesting, and I don't know. Garrett's in the chat, who's a dev. What like I want to know what makes WASD is so popular now. But, you know, back in the day, it always used to be arrow keys. Like, what makes devs still use arrow keys for controls? I don't... Especially, you know, since you're usually operating the mouse with your right hand. I mean, I know not all games have to use the mouse, but I don't know. It's just an interesting design choice that I don't fully understand. But anyway. So, yeah, Phase...
It is fun.
Simple.
This game is fun.
Pretty simple. It is free.
It's sort of like Portal.
It is free on itch.io. And I actually think you can play it right in the browser if you want to. I think. So like
I'm playing it in the browser right now. Yeah.
Okay.
It plays great in the browser.
I downloaded it, so I didn't play it in the browser. So, yeah, it's name your own price, so it is free. But I highly suggest that you support the dev if you can.
It's actually surprisingly fun. Like, it's great. Like the level of difficulty is just really, really good. Like the design.
The puzzles are satisfying, right?
Very satisfying.
Yeah.
Ah.
This is a smart design right there.
Yep.
You know what else is a smart design?
The end of the show.
The end of the show is smartly designed. Not really. Speaking of supporting, if you'd like to support us, you like what we do, and you want to help us grow the show, please consider going to patreon.com/Indie Game Riot, and $1 or more every month is always appreciated. You do $5, it just like sacrifice coffee. If you're a coffee drinker, you might pay like $5 at a Starbucks or whatever. You could just sacrifice one of those coffees and help us out immensely. And if you like the whole logo thing at the beginning, like Keen, there's a tier for that as well. I think it's $25 a month. So thank you so much for the consideration. If you want to get a hold of us, you can always go to Twitter at IGR Podcast or Facebook.com/IGR Podcast. Of course, you can always just email us, contact@IndieGameRiot.com. Any last words, sir?
I'm having a lot of fun playing this free fun game. I'm surprised.
Now you're addicted.
Yeah, I'm a little bit addicted. Play FaZe. It's pretty good. Sign up for IRX. We need you.
Yes.
It's going to be bigger than ever this year.
I'm about to go into crunch mode soon.
Yeah, dude. I realized the other week that it was like, IRX is coming up, and it's like, how many more months? April, 2 months, like 8 weeks max.
We got 2.5 months right now, so.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah. So
crunch time.
I'm gonna have to start crunching down on that and start emailing everyone in the world.
Yeah.
So again, if you haven't gotten your game signed up, sign up your game, sign up your panel, hide your kids, hide your wives, and sign up for IRX. And say goodbye.
See you next time, guys.
Toodles.